He carried his mother's last voicemail for 3 years. He never deleted it. Not during training. Not during the 2 deployments. Not during the 14 months in a forward operating base in the Middle East, where the temperatures hit 115 degrees and the dust got into everything. Your lungs, your food, the creases of every letter you tried to write home. He kept that voicemail the way some men keep photographs, the way some men keep the only thing they have left of a place they're not sure still exists. 42 seconds. Her voice, a little hoarse, a little tired, the way it always sounded after a long shift. Marcus, it's Mom. I know you're busy over there and I know you don't need me worrying at you. I just wanted to hear my own voice say it. I'm proud of you. I've always been proud of you. Come home safe. He had listened to it 31 times. He knew because the phone counted. Marcus Cole was 26 years old. He had enlisted in the United States Marine Corps at 19, 2 weeks after his high school graduation, in a town in Georgia where the options after June were either the military, the warehouse, or the slow drift toward nothing. He chose the uniform, not for glory. He would have laughed at that word. He chose it because he needed structure and purpose and a reason to wake up at 0500 that wasn't just survival. 3 years later, with a combat action ribbon and a scar along his left forearm that his buddy Reyes had packed with gauze in the field, Marcus Cole was coming home. Home was Atlanta. Home was his mother. Linda Cole was 51 years old. She had lived in the same apartment on Delwood Avenue in East Atlanta for 11 years. Second floor, Unit 4B. The one with the window facing the street where she kept a small pot of geraniums on the sill. Because she said a home without something growing in it was just a room. She worked double shifts as a home health aide 6 days a week. She had worked herself down to the bone for as long as Marcus could remember. And she had never once complained about it, in a way that made him feel like the cause. He had called her 3 days before his flight home. Bad connection. Her voice cutting in and out. But she had said what she always said. I'm here, baby. I'm waiting for you. He took a cab from Hartsfield-Jackson. He didn't tell her the exact time. He wanted to walk through that door and see her face before she had time to prepare it. He had been thinking about that moment for 7 months. The cab pulled onto Delwood Avenue at 4 in the afternoon. October sun, the kind that sits low and golden and makes everything look warmer than it is. He paid the driver. He grabbed his duffel. He looked up at the building, Unit 4B, second floor, the window where the geraniums lived. The window was dark, different curtains. He rang the buzzer. An unfamiliar voice answered. He gave his mother's name. A pause, the kind of pause that is not confusion. She hasn't lived here for a while, man. I moved in like 8 months ago. Marcus stood on the sidewalk with his duffel bag at his feet, and the October light going gold around him, and the cab already gone. He had survived 3 years overseas. He had not prepared for this. He started with the neighbors. He knocked on 4 doors in the building. 3 didn't answer. The 4th was an older woman named Miss Patrice, who had lived on the first floor for 16 years, and who looked at Marcus, the uniform, the duffel, the expression he was trying to keep controlled, and opened her door wider before he even finished the sentence. Come in, baby. Her apartment smelled like coffee and pine sol. She sat him down at the kitchen table and brought him a glass of water he didn't ask for. And then she looked at him the way older women look at young men when they're about to say something they've been carrying too long. Your mama is a proud woman, the proudest I've ever known. Miss Patrice. Where is she? The woman looked at her hands. The landlord sold the building last year. New owners raised the rent 60% in 60 days. Half the floor left. Your mama fought it. Filed a complaint with the housing authority. Went to 2 city council meetings. But they don't care, Marcus. She had 30 days to get out. She paused. She stayed with her friend Denise for a while. Then a motel on Moreland. Then the motel ran out. Miss Patrice pressed her lips together. I saw her about 2 months ago, by the overpass on Memorial Drive. She had a bag with her. Marcos didn't say anything. He looked at the glass of water. She told me not to call you. Said you had enough to carry over there without worrying about her back home. He nodded slowly. He stood up. He thanked her. And then he stepped outside and did something he had been putting off since the cab ride from the airport. He called his mother. 4 rings. 5. He was already building a reason why she wouldn't pick up. And then she did. Marcus. Her voice, immediate, warm, the same voice from the voicemail. Baby, where are you? I thought your flight wasn't until... I landed this morning. Mom, where are you right now? A pause. Short, almost nothing. But he was trained to read pauses. I'm at work, she said. Just finishing up a shift. Where are you staying these days? Another pause. Shorter, more controlled. Same place, she said. Same old apartment. You know me. I don't like change. He was standing outside the building she had lived in for 11 years. A building with a stranger's name on Unit 4B and curtains he didn't recognize in the window where the geraniums used to be. She was lying to him. Cleanly. Effortlessly. The way someone lies when they have practiced it so many times it no longer feels like one. Okay, he said. I'll call you when I get settled. You get some rest. You just got home. I will. I love you, Mom. I love you, baby. He hung up. He stood on the sidewalk for a long moment. She hadn't asked where he was staying. She hadn't asked him to come over. She had been warm and calm and completely, deliberately, giving him nothing. She had been protecting him. From 10,000 miles away, for 3 years, she had been protecting him. He picked up his duffel and started walking. If this story already has its hooks in you, subscribe right now and hit the bell. Every story we tell comes straight to you. The overpass on Memorial Drive ran over a wide stretch of cracked sidewalk and dry grass, where the city's indifference had arranged itself into a kind of permanent fixture. There were about 20 people camped along the concrete wall. Tents made from tarps and shopping carts. Cardboard layered against the base of the support columns. A man in a wheelchair reading a paperback. A woman with 2 dogs asleep in her lap. Marcus walked the length of it twice. His mother was not there. A man named Walter, who had been living under that overpass for 14 months and who functioned as the unofficial memory of the place, looked at Marcus's uniform and answered before he finished asking. Linda. Yeah, she was here a few weeks. Good woman. Quiet, kept to herself. He scratched his jaw. She left about 3 weeks ago. Something happened one night. She didn't feel safe. She moved on. You know where? Heard she went to the shelter over on Pryor Street. Marcus walked. The Pryor Street shelter was a converted warehouse that smelled like industrial cleaner. A case manager named Dwayne found the name after 4 minutes. Linda Cole, checked in 22 days ago. Stayed 3 nights. Voluntary departure. She have a forwarding note? Said she'd be at the day center on Auburn Avenue during business hours. Marcus thanked him and left. He had been in Atlanta for 6 hours. He had worked through a former apartment, a neighbor's kitchen, an overpass, and a city shelter. And through all of it, the phone call from Miss Patrice's doorstep kept replaying. Her voice, warm and steady and completely manufactured. Same old apartment. You know me. I don't like change. That was the thing about his mother he had always known and never fully understood. She was the most capable liar he had ever met, and she only ever lied for one reason. To make sure the people she loved didn't have to carry what she was carrying. He had called her from overseas 8 times in 3 years. 8 times she had said everything was fine. 8 times he had believed her because believing her was easier than the alternative. And because he was 10,000 miles away, and there was nothing he could do even if he didn't. Now he was 4 miles away, and there was everything he could do. He called Miss Patrice from the sidewalk. "Does my mother have any other friends nearby? Anyone who might have seen her recently?" "There's Cynthia. They used to take the same bus." A pause. "Cynthia called me 4 days ago, Marcus. She said she saw your mother. At the Edgewood Flea Market, 3 days ago." His heart shifted. "Where exactly?" "Have you ever had to search for someone who was hiding their pain to protect you? Write it in the comments. We read everyone." The Edgewood Flea Market ran on weekends, rows of folding tables under a corrugated metal roof, vendors selling everything from tools to children's shoes to handmade candles. On weekdays, the covered area stayed open, and the concrete steps at the back entrance, out of the wind, had become a place where people with nowhere to sit could sit. Marcus arrived at 9 in the morning. He had slept 3 hours at the bus station downtown. His body had functioned on less. He walked the perimeter first, then the inside rows. Then he came around to the back entrance. She was sitting on the 3rd step from the bottom. A canvas bag beside her feet. A blue cardigan Marcus recognized. He had ordered it online from a base in the Middle East and tracked the package obsessively until Miss Patrice confirmed it arrived. He remembered the relief of that confirmation more than almost anything from that deployment. The cardigan was worn at the elbows now, but she was wearing it. Her hair had more gray than he remembered. She was looking at the middle distance the way people look when they have learned to wait without expecting anything from the waiting. Marcus stopped. He had survived combat operations. He had carried a wounded Marine 2 kilometers under fire. He had held the kind of stillness that keeps men alive in situations where moving means dying. None of it had prepared him for this. He walked toward her. She looked up when she heard the boots. She looked at the boots, at the uniform, at the face, and she did something he did not expect. She closed her eyes, not a flinch, not a collapse, just closed. The way you close your eyes when something you have been dreading arrives, and you need 1 second before you let it be real. "Marcus," she said. Just his name. Quietly. He knelt down in front of her, right there on the concrete. Duffel still on his back, still in uniform, knees on the ground, eye level with her face. "Mom." She opened her eyes. They were full, but they didn't fall. The same discipline she had always had. The discipline of a woman who learned young that falling apart in public costs something you might not get back. "You didn't have to come find me," she said. "I just got home. Of course I came. I'm okay." "I know you're not." She turned her face to the side, looked at the vendors, at anything that wasn't her son kneeling on concrete in front of her. "I called you this morning," he said quietly. "You told me you were still at the apartment on Delwood." She didn't say anything. "I was standing outside the building when you said it." A long silence. The flea market moved around them, carts rolling, a vendor calling out a price, somebody's radio playing low. "I didn't want you to know," she finally said, the voice giving at the edge. "Just barely, just enough. You were over there. I wasn't going to call you in a deployment and tell you I lost the apartment. That would have been selfish." "Mom." "You had enough going on." "Mom." "I handled it. I'm handling it." Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he put his hand against her face, the way she used to put her hand against his when he was small and trying not to cry. And she needed him to know she was there without making it worse. "I went over there to protect people," he said. "Turns out I was protecting people on the wrong side of the world." And then Linda Cole cried. Not the quiet kind, the kind that has been waiting a long time to be allowed. The kind that only comes when someone you trust is close enough to hold the weight with you. She pressed her face into her hands and her shoulders shook, and Marcus stayed exactly where he was. On his knees on the concrete, one hand on her back, not moving, not speaking, not trying to make it stop. He let her have it, all of it, every month of it. If this moment got to you, hit the like button. That's how you tell us you want more stories like this. They stayed on those steps until she was done. He went inside and came back with 2 cups of coffee. They sat side by side on the step, her shoulder against his, and she held the cup with both hands and told him everything. The eviction notice, the 30 days, the housing authority complaint that went nowhere, the city council meeting where she spoke for 3 minutes in front of people who looked at their phones the entire time, Denise's couch, the motel, the shelter with the 7 a.m. rule that made getting to her clients nearly impossible. "You were still working through all of this?" he said. "I never stopped, sleeping outside and taking the bus to work every day. My clients didn't need to know where I slept." He looked at her hands wrapped around the cup, the same hands that had packed his lunches and sewn name tags into his uniforms, and held him when his father left and never once, in his entire life, asked him to carry anything that was hers to carry. "How much do you have saved?" he asked. "Maybe $150. I've got 3 months of deployment pay almost untouched." He opened his phone. "We can get a room today, month to month. You stabilize, get your footing, then we figure out something longer." "Marcus, I'm not taking your money. It's not my money. We're the whole family. That's what the money is for." She looked at him for a long time, not with pride exactly, not with relief exactly, with something deeper than both. The look of a woman who spent 3 years being strong enough for 2 people and is only now, on a concrete step outside a flea market, allowing herself to put half of that down. "You came back different," she said. "Same," he said. "Just more sure." She laughed. Small and brief, the first real laugh he had heard from her in 3 years, and it landed somewhere in his chest and stayed there like something he hadn't known was missing. He called Miss Patrice. By evening, it was settled. A room in a clean building near East Lake. Real bed, window that latched, week to week until they found something longer. When Linda stepped inside and set her canvas bag on the floor, she stood in the middle of the room without moving, like someone who had been in motion so long that stillness felt like a place she had to relearn, like someone remembering, slowly, that she was allowed to stop. Marcus stood in the doorway and said nothing. He just watched her stand there in the room and breathe. If this story stayed with you, you can support with a super thanks. It helps us keep telling stories like this one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. That night, Marcus slept on the floor. There was no second bed. He folded his jacket into a pillow, unrolled the sleeping pad he'd kept in his duffel from habit, and lay down on the hardwood. The floor was hard. The radiator knocked. A car alarm went off after midnight and ran for 10 minutes before going quiet. Marcus slept 9 hours. The best night since before his first deployment. In the morning, Linda was already up. A cup of coffee was sitting on top of his duffel when he opened his eyes. She was at the window, both hands around her own cup, looking down at the street. "Sun's out," she said. "Yeah," he said. "I work this afternoon." "I'll figure out a ride." She turned and looked at him on the floor and shook her head. The specific expression of a mother when something is exactly as absurd and exactly as right as she expected it to be. "You're on the floor," she said. "I've been on worse." "I know you have," she said. "That's the part that bothers me." In the days that followed, Marcus worked through the paperwork of starting over. He got her name on the county housing wait list. He sat down with her employer and explained what she had been carrying alone, and the supervisor sat back in his chair and was quiet for a moment in the way people get quiet when they realize they missed something that was right in front of them. He stopped by the overpass one afternoon and spent an hour sitting with Walter, who had been an electrician for 22 years before the bottom fell out. He listened without trying to fix anything. Some things you can't fix. You can only sit with them. But the afternoon he thought about longest happened on a Friday, 3 weeks after he found her. He showed up outside the care facility where she worked, 10 minutes before her shift ended, holding 2 ice cream cones, cookies and cream, her favorite since he could remember, the flavor she used to split with him when he was small, and 1 cone was all they could manage between them. She came through the side door with her bag over her shoulder and stopped when she saw him on the sidewalk. "What is this?" "Ice cream," he said. "You still like cookies and cream?" "You know I do." "Then take it." She took it. They walked through the neighborhood while the sun went down, not talking much, not needing to. The October air had turned cooler, and the trees along the street had gone red and gold, and the light was the same low gold it had been the afternoon he came home to an empty window, and a stranger's voice on the buzzer. 2 cones, 1 sidewalk, the sound of Atlanta around them, traffic and music and someone calling a name from a porch somewhere. The city living its life, indifferent and familiar and exactly what it had always been. He had gone overseas to serve his country. He understood now that his country had always started closer than he was looking. It started here, on this sidewalk, with this woman who had held everything together alone for 3 years without asking him for anything, who was now walking beside him with ice cream dripping on the cardigan he had sent her from the other side of the world. That was what she had needed. Not a rescue, not a hero, just her son, present, home, paying attention. Thank you for staying until the end. If this story stayed with you, the next one goes even deeper. We'll see you there.